Herefordshire Regimental Museum YouTube channel. You're joined today by your ever dutiful host, Danny Rees, and Colonel Andy Taylor.
Hi there.
And from our last video, we seem to have gone a little bit viral about our Cold War display, where we start talking about a few artefacts from our Cold War display, which I think a few of you won't have seen before. And I'll pass you over to Andy for a very special card from that case.
But firstly, it's probably worth just explaining a little bit about the Cold War. I mean, really, this was fought principally by the British Army that was based in Germany, alongside the other Allied troops. But the British Army consisted of anything up to, I think about 120,000 troops at one stage, stationed in Germany, and of course they had their families with them and all the support staff as well. And they lived over there were schools over there. Everything that you would find in an English town was in Germany, supporting them on the British forces net. And at the end of the Second World War, when Germany was effectively split into four zones, the Russian zone, the American zone, the French zone, and the British zone, and each of the elements was allowed to have a mission operating in the other zone to monitor what they were doing and as a sort of liaison. This boiled down in the later years to two organisations which we are particularly interested in. BRIXMIS, which was the British mission to East Germany, and SOXMIS, which was the Soviet mission to operating within the British zone. And those Russian individuals were based in Bunda in the British zone in West Germany. In fact, they had a compound which was at the other end of a married quarters patch in Bunda, in Beringstrasse, to be precise about it. I know that because we lived in a quarter at the other end of Beringstrasse from the Soviet compound. But they would go out on patrols. BRIXMIS and SOXMIS would go out on patrols. And all British troops were briefed that if they saw SOXMIS vehicles, they had to report them. And SOXMIS vehicles all had an identification plate on them. It was yellow with a number and with the Soviet flag on it. And they were free to patrol anywhere, I think, although there were certain areas which they were persuaded, I think is probably the best word, not to visit because of the military sensitivity of those areas. But all British military were issued with this card, and it had what the SOXMIS vehicle plate looked like, and inside it told you what to do if you saw one, what not to do if you saw one, and then the reporting procedure to report these vehicles. And it's quite interesting. Some of the do nots were: do not pursue, do not interrogate the occupants, do not tell the Russians why you are speaking to them, do not use force, do not leave the scene until you have reported it. So all of these things, and then some of the do's: use military courtesy, and inform the SOXMIS desk, which was Hereford Military 2222, a number which after 30 years is still ingrained on my brain. We saw several SOXMIS vehicles. As I mentioned, they lived at the end of our street, literally, and we would see them driving out and driving back. And we still had to report them because it was important that they knew when these vehicles were leaving and when they were coming back. And I remember reporting quite a few that were parked up outside the NAFI in Bunda because the Russian personnel were able to use the NAFI under the Status Forces Agreement Act, and they did. They would go down and do some of their shopping there. I seem to recall that at the time we were there, within Russia, there was a squeeze on alcohol, and they weren't getting their supply of vodka through the usual channels, and they were buying their vodka from the NAFI at that time. But that's a different story. But anyway, the SOXMIS card as it was, and we would be briefed every year on SOXMIS and the procedures to carry out. and they regularly reissued the card with a different number on. The reason being that people would see a SOXMIS car and then it would drive off and disappear. They'd seen it. So they would scrabble in their pockets, get their card out. What have we got to do? We've got to report it with the number. Oh, what was the number of the vehicle? 42. And the number on the SOXMIS card was the number which was quoted in over 50% of SOXMIS car sightings. So an interesting fact there, Danny.
It's absolutely fascinating. I know it's one a little rare thing, and I know a lot of you out there who've seen this when I did our little pan of the cabinet. We're excited to see this. A lot of you old Cold War warriors out there will recognise this and how a rarity this is really, and it's such a privilege to actually display it within the museum for you to see. So I know it's a Christmas period and it's all going a bit quiet and we're all going back into our homes as it were, but do remember we're here for visits if you want to pop in and come in and say hello, and you're more than welcome to follow us on all of our socials. Either this, our podcast, Just a Walk in the Sun. There's going to be some fantastic episodes coming up in the next few weeks, so please do tune in. But also check out our website, but also our Facebook as well. So thank you again, Andy, for today. I think we've had a fantastic day. I think we're going to record some pods this afternoon.
We are. We've got a few people coming in, so we're going to record some podcasts, which will be going out over the next month or two, I suspect. And listen out for those as well, and you'll hear more of our dulcet tones.
Until next time, keep history alive.